What's up, everybody? This is Mr. Second Passport. Today, we're going to cover 9 things that realtors or someone selling you something would not tell you about Olon, Ecuador, right? So, here it is, Olon. It's smack dab, almost right in the middle of the Ruta del Sol here in Ecuador. If you're traveling from Salinas on up to Manta, kind of on the southern coast of Ecuador. It's a very green little microclimate. I talked about that on a video I just did, the different microclimates on the coast of Ecuador. Beautiful place to visit. Don't get me wrong, but the expat it has been a very popular expat destination, and there are some things you should know before you choose Olon as a living destination. Right? If you're just visiting, what the heck? Go. Trust me, it's a great place. You're right near Montanita, but it's much more quiet, and I think you're gonna like it a lot for like a long weekend. But if you want to move there, you have to analyze a little bit more, right, than just if you're taking a short trip there. So, and that's kind of what, and maybe even nitpick a little more, and that's kind of what this video's all about. So the first thing that realtors don't tell you about Olon is that, as you can see here from the geography, there's really no good way to walk from Olon to Montanita, the next door town, which is full of shops and restaurants and bars, and where a lot of people like to hang out. So even though you're right next to Montanita, there's no way really to walk there via the beach, right? And it gets really dark around here too on the beach at night as well. So you probably wouldn't even want to if you could. The number two thing that probably nobody tells you about Olon until, and I didn't realize until a friend of mine who likes to surf moved there, and he quickly moved away in about a year to Costa Rica. You know, the Olon Beach is not really good for surfing, although next door Montanita is, right? That's just kind of how the breaks go sometimes. And it's not really good for swimming either. As you can see, there's always a little bit of shore break going on, and it's a little rough for the average swimmer, in my opinion. And another thing that you probably haven't heard anywhere is that it's not that great for walking either. Most of the year, or some of the year, there is a river that runs right through here onto the beach, and sometimes for a good part of the year, it's running kind of high to the point where you can't really cross it and walk the whole beachhead to the north, which is a really nice walk. You can go walk way up to La Rinconada and La Entrada. But I've done it. It's a great walk. So really, it kind of restricts you to just kind of walking in front of the town here onto the cliff area and back. And that's about all the walking you can do in some parts of the year, right? So definitely something to think about. Number 3 thing you should consider before moving to Olon that probably no one's going to tell you is there's very little beachfront property available, right? Very little. And there's very little even ocean view property available just because of the geography here, and there's not many high rises that are permitted. So you're probably going to have to live a block or two back here where you're not going to get that nice breeze off the ocean, probably. And it's going to be way more hotter and humid, right? Back there, just off the ocean. So it's just something to think about. The number 4 thing you should know before moving to a place like Olon is a little history lesson. You're actually about 10 years too late. This place was kind of bought up and heavily promoted by some gringo realtors starting about 10 years ago or so, and the place just exploded, kind of being pushed as the next Southern California and all that, blah, blah, blah. And the place really got expensive for what it is, just a small coastal town, in my opinion, right? And this was like starting about 10 years ago. So definitely something to think about. If you're looking for cheap beachfront property, you're probably a little too late when it comes to Olon. Number 5 thing you should know before you move to Olon is that, yes, there are these beautiful mountains right behind the main coastal highway here where you can find some really amazing ocean views. But I've been back there multiple times, and yes, maybe I'm a little biased because the last time I saw a property up on one of these hills right behind the road here, I got my first ever tick, and yeah, not fun. So I just felt a little itch on my stomach later that night in my hotel in Montanita, and I looked down and there it was a little tick, and I just kind of pinched it off. What I want to tell you is back here, unless you have paved road access to your property, yeah, you can find some really cheap stuff with some really good views back here. But I've been back here, and for a good part of the year, it is super, super muddy, like more muddy than you could ever imagine, like almost quicksand style muddy. That's how muddy it gets back here. So, yeah, you could buy some real cheap stuff up here, but are you prepared to invest in paving a road up to your property? That's a huge expense. To give you an idea, one time I paved just a small, like, um, 400 square foot area in front of a house here in Ecuador. And here in Ecuador, it cost me around $400 to do the adoquines, like the little stone type things that kind of fit together, the little hectagon things. So anyway, that would be super expensive to pave or even adoquine a road up to your property. Just something to think about. Number six thing you should know before moving to Olon is that, at least in my own proprietary experience of knowing people who had moved and bought in to Olon, my first business in Ecuador was a small bed and breakfast in Guayaquil. And I met a lot of people moving to that area of the coast and to Olon. And I can tell you, because they'd fly into Guayaquil, and I can tell you that most of them don't last more than a couple years in Olon. Just something to think about before you move there, right? And bring a whole container worth of crap and stuff like that. That most people don't last that long in Olon. They move somewhere else in Ecuador. Why is that? Well, I obviously can't cover that in a 8 or 9 minute video on YouTube. The number seven thing probably nobody is going to tell you about Olon is that if you don't plan on owning a car, uh, which in my opinion is a good idea on the coast of Ecuador because it just gets deteriorated really fast because of the salty air right off the ocean. The buses are super infrequent. I mean, they're not that good here, and oftentimes you can wait really long times, and it's not very organized. There's no set bus schedule, and it is better in other parts of the coast, like even a little further south here than Olon. Can be better, but Olon particularly, the bus situation north south is just not that great in my opinion. Not organized, and you can have to wait a long time, right, in between buses. Something to think about, and for me, it doesn't really strike me as a place where you can just get by with a little electric bike. Um, just because Montanita is kind of far on an electric bike, and pretty much anywhere else you want to go on a little electric bike probably is too far too. And you got to go really up to get from Olon to Montanita. It goes up and then down. So I don't know if a little electric bike could handle that with ease. The eighth thing probably someone's not going to tell you about Olon before you move there that you should know is that the medical situation, like good quality clinic, hospitals, doctors, nearby, like in town or somewhere near, is not great. Not a great situation if you need, especially constant medical attention. It's just something to think about. There's a little tiny clinic that I've personally used in Manglar Alto, which is 2 towns to the south. But for anything reasonably at all complicated, they will send you straight to Libertad, which is about an hour away. It's happened to me. So, something to think about. The number nine thing that probably no one's going to tell you, right, if they're trying to sell you something about Olon, is that with the greener microclimate and this river that's often kind of standstilly for a good part of the year. It's almost like a little estuary right here on the north side of town. And there's a lot of green, as you can see. There's a lot of taller trees, leafy trees. With this climate, there's kind of a lot, in my opinion, comparatively, of mosquitoes. So that's also something you probably want to keep in mind before moving to Olon. Those are 9 things that probably you should know before moving to Olon, Ecuador. If you like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button below. I'm Mr. Second Passport. Take care.